Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fellow model railway enthusiasts. Welcome back to Partickhill Station. So today I've got a couple of different trains running. As you can see there, that's the Phoenix, and it's pulling a rake of the old Triang Caravelle car transporters, complete with the appropriate cars that came along with that set. And on the other line, I've got the old Triang Hornby B12 in LNER Livery, pulling a rake of R745 and 746 Gresley Triang Hornby coaches. Those were the very early ones that they didn't have any interior, and at this point I'm not really sure if you can buy an interior for them if they were actually issued, or if they're available. But it's an interesting set, it's different, and I thought you would like to see that today. So it's Sunday morning, and what happened yesterday was I recorded this video. Unfortunately, I had audio problems with it, and I've had to go in and delete the audio, and then now I'm doing a voiceover, and I think this will work out quite well. I was watching Hot Dog Andy this morning, and he had that beautiful Bachmann set of Pullman coaches. Now, I'd never seen the Bachmann set before. It's entirely possible that I saw it but never really paid attention to it on a layout somewhere. I didn't realise that they were Bachmann. But I'll need to keep an eye out for them in future. And then also on Andy's presentation, I asked him about how he got those two outside tracks into the sidings, and he showed me some complicated points were required to accomplish that. And on my particular layout here, you can see that I've got two main tracks, 4 tracks through the station, and then at the other end there are the 2 main tracks, and each track has 2 loops or sidings to go along with it. Excuse me. So it's something I need to think about, because at the opposite end, as I said, from the station, it might look better if I've got the up and down lines adjacent to each other, as opposed to being separated by 2 sidings in each direction. Now, after Hot Dog Andy's show, I jumped onto Dave's Swindon Junction, where he was demonstrating how to upgrade an HST from analog to digital. And once again, very interesting. He's using that Strathpeffer mod kit which I've looked at in the past, but never thought I needed it, because for the most part my HSTs all run quite well. But also, as you know, my locos are all DC. Although I do have a Hornby DCC control unit, and I think I have one Hornby digital chip. And recently I've been watching those who have both, and they've got a toggle, an on-off-on toggle that enables them to switch from DC to DCC, and it might be something that I might consider, and maybe try out a couple of locos to see how it works. But there are so many other things that need addressed on the layout. Now that's the Class 47 Queen Mother, just pulling a rake of tanks there. Of course, the yellow ones are the Blue Circle cement tankers, one of which I demonstrated how to weather it with the pen, and you know, you should have a look at that. It's an easy and cheap way of weathering things like the tanks, and you might want to have a go at that. So I'd like to give a big shout out to Michael at Chanwell. I don't know if you've watched his videos, but he's very innovative when it comes to scratch building his buildings for his town. He uses Inkscape, and Inkscape is a free software, vector driven, and you know, you can lay out a building very simply, and then remove or separate the windows and doors from the facade of the building, and it's a great technique, and I'm going to give it a go. And he has a few step-by-step videos on how to use Inkscape, how to lay out a building, and then eventually he'll cut it out and do a mock-up of the building using paper, drops it into his town, see how it fits, and then modifies it to suit before moving on to actually making the building. And that's the Northeastern Bridge there that the Class 47's passing under. Tony was the inspiration for me to build that, and if you're interested in seeing how that's done, I did a series of, I think, 4 videos on how I did it, from laying it out with my set of trammels, and then cutting it, gluing it, painting it, rusting it, and all the information's there. If you are interested, you can check it out. So I thought I would show a variety of locos today, and there's the Class 37 that I purchased earlier in the year. The individual who sold me it did state that it was a non-runner, although it had ran. So I thought, well, it's a good chance I can get it fixed, and I did. And quite happy with the way it runs. So for this particular video, I'm using the Logitech cameras, the 920, which is the one on the left with showing the bridge, and the other is the Logitech Brio. That's the one showing the station. Now, for the last couple of videos, I had some problems with the Brio. Wasn't quite sure what the issue was, but I just couldn't get it to work. It kept dropping off or freezing, and played around with it, checked the settings, and eventually when I restarted it, it was working. So I'm not really sure what the issue was. One thing I find challenging is the couplings for the wagons often aren't exactly the same because many of the wagons come from different manufacturers and they use different styles of couplings. And if you're not careful when you're lining them up, they can sometimes lock and cause a derailment, and that's pretty frustrating. And it happens a few times on the video where something would come off for no apparent reason. Excuse the elbow. I was going to cut these type of situations out from the video, but I decided that, well, look, that's the reality of running a model railway. There's good bits and bad bits, and sometimes because my layout doesn't have power points, I have to change the points myself, and this ends up, you'll see an elbow or a hand in frame, but hey, that's the way it goes with model railways. And there's the Class A4 Walter K. Wigham just heading round to its shed. I have 3 or 4 A4s, and I bring them out every now and again, and I might do so for the next upcoming videos, just to let you see them. So the thing about doing a voiceover is you don't have to talk continually, and of course, you know, it's all about the trains anyway, and you know, while I enjoy the interaction of having a chat line, it can be a little bit distracting from time to time if you're constantly monitoring who's just joined or what they're contributing to the conversation, and you don't always see what's going on around the railway. But in this particular case, the way it's worked out is, you know, I've already filmed it, the audio didn't work, I got rid of that audio track, and now I'm back in doing a voiceover. And that's a Class 27 with a fish van in tow that just picked up down at the wharf and is delivering it to the central station to supply all the fish and chip shops around Glasgow. Now, if I remember correctly, that is a Lima, and it runs quite well. The 2 relay boxes you see there just in front of the bridge are 2 of my 3D prints. They turned out quite well. You know, I modelled them myself and then printed them and painted them, and there's the 4F going by. The one thing that I didn't do correctly was the top of the cabinets. The way I modelled them, I did it with a flat roof when in fact it should have been a sloped roof or peaked roof, and I'll need to correct that at some point. So the story with the 4F, I've actually got 3 of them. I picked them up at different times. They're all Airfix. They're all very good runners. Missing a coupling or 2, but you know, at the time the price was right. It was actually priced really cheaply, and I thought, well, I could probably use them, but in an afterthought, you know, probably a good idea to move 2 of them on because I don't need 3. I might start placing stuff on eBay, but it's complicated. A lot of paperwork has to be done. It's not that simple anymore. So the Class 37 is there on a light. It's holding, waiting for instructions. And there she's off again. And there's the Class 29 in BR Blue. The prototype of that was manufactured in Glasgow by North British Railways. And it's an interesting story with that loco, or this particular model. I'd come across an 060 a number of years ago. Nice little runner. It turns out it was a Wren. I didn't have a diesel at the time, and while at a motor railway show, a guy I knew said to me, "Oh, why don't you talk with this guy over here, this dealer? He'll probably make a deal with you." So I went and spoke with the guy and asked him if he'd be interested in a swap, and he said, "Sure, what do you have in mind?" And I said, "Well, how about one of your diesels?" And he had this in a box, and he agreed, a straight swap. So that was goodbye Wren, hello Hornby, and you know, it fits in really well. It runs great. I changed the brushes on it at one point, and I think that was it. I'm just getting a few things set up here. There'll be something coming shortly. So Alan in the loft is back home after his journey through England, and it was pretty cool hooking up with Mark and touring around some of the model railway sites, or sorry, the heritage sites. I think if I get back over sometime, I may make sort of similar type journey and try and hook up with a few of you for a quick visit. Now, for those of you that are interested in the North American locos and rolling stock, I was in George's Trains, which is a model railroads shop here, very well known in Ontario. And I made a video over there along with the owner, and you know, he said yes, you know, we do post to the UK, and we've done it recently, so he's got a wide range of digital and analog locomotives there that you might be interested in, so check out that video. Now here's the situation where I've got something that's just not working. I think it's one of those wagons that are just jammed up, either a coupling or it's an old set of wheels that are just not riding well. So you will excuse my elbow there. As I said, it's all part of model railways. You try to avoid this, but I'm not going to hide it. It does happen, and clearly, in this particular case, I never paid enough attention to whether the wheels were all on the tracks correctly. That's that Hornby diesel shunter just going back into the sidings. I have a few more oil tankers. I should set up a train of only these oil tankers. It does look quite nice. And there's the B12 coming back through Partickhill on its way back from the seashore for day trippers. I hadn't run that B12 in some time. I took it out the drawer, just oiled it a little bit, put it on the track, and away it went. Now, as you can see in the station there, I've ballasted and weathered that track closest to you on the left hand side there, and I plan to weather the other tracks, ballast them. You can see it clearer there. I don't think I'll do the whole layout, don't really see the point, because at the other end it's mainly about storage. And you can see that tenement building in the distance there. That's just the image glued to a piece of black foam core, and it's got a good effect there in the distance, and I'll probably add in a few more just to give some further depth to that view and overlap them a little bit. Now there's an interesting visitor. That's a Warship. Many of you would notice that right away. And it's pulling a Triang car transporter that I've modified and put in a broken Airfix Spitfire that's on the way for rebuild. But the Warship it's a nice runner. It's an unusual looking locomotive, and certainly, or most likely, would never or rarely be seen in Scotland. But when I got the opportunity to buy it for a very good price, I took it because it's as I say, it's a nice looking, unusual locomotive, and I thought you might enjoy seeing that today. I did a video on how to convert those Triang car carriers, and you might want to check it out if you've got any of those. And I demonstrated from what John Chams had done how to replace the wheels and stabilise the body so that it's got more lateral stability. Now, I've sent John Chams a couple of emails via his site on eBay. I'm not sure if it's still operating or if John is actually still in Nottingham. Sometimes running a railway, there's a lot of waiting going on, and that's what's happening right now. There you go, we're back on track. Just an update on my shuttle. I've got all the wiring in. I just have to do one last bit of wiring just hook it up and then add power to the unit, and it should be operational. And I'm going to try and work on that this coming week, so that by the time we get around to doing another video, I'll have something different to show you. And of course, thanks to Tom Houston for all his help on that. I have a bunch of stuff that I'm trying to sell right now. I've got an HO Class 33 with 3, I guess they're Mark II blue and grey coaches. This is a set Lima had issued a number of years ago. It runs really well, but you know, I bought it at a time when I was not very well informed about the model railways, and I didn't realise it was HO until I brought it home, and then it was too late. So if anyone's interested in an HO 33 with 3 coaches, please let me know. I'll give you a good deal on it. And I've got loads of brick paper stuff and partially built Metcalf models, including a viaduct that I'm not going to be able to use. So anybody interested, you know, please be in touch. I've also got 3 boxes of DVDs covering every variety of area and railway company in the UK. I sent some over to Mark Donegal Dad a while back there, and it just happened to be a record of his railway in the museum, and there are some characters on the DVD who were the original individuals who set up that museum. That was so interesting and coincidental. So if anybody's interested in obtaining some of these DVDs, please let me know. Some of them were at one point £15 each, but I'd be happy to let them go for a song, let's say. And to get, you know, maybe half a dozen over there would probably cost maybe $20, so we could always work something out. And there's the Class 156 Strathclyde Transport from Ellis Clark. I'm very happy with that particular 2-car set. Runs really smoothly, makes a tiny little noise, but I can probably fix that no problem. And Clive would probably enjoy seeing that. As he had mentioned, that was one of his favourites before. As you can see, it runs really well and looks great in this familiar setting. And of course that's a Lima 156, and I have the other Lima 156 for the SPT, which also ran around Glasgow and down the coast of from Glasgow along the River Clyde on both sides of the river. So there the Class 156 has just stopped to drop off, pick up some passengers. Maybe they're going into the city centre, maybe they're going down the coast to places like Helensburgh and Balloch or Greenock or Weems Bay, heading down the estuary of the Clyde. You can see I've also got some of those steel plates that I made sitting there beside the track. So I hope you've enjoyed this session. As I said, I thought I'd bring something different through the railway today, added in a couple of locos that you might not have seen much of in the past, and it was a bit of variety, and just bring you up to date with what's happening in general around Partickhill Station and what plans I have to take it forward, some of the issues I've had and some of the channels that I like. And you know, talking of channels that I like, it's I greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch this, because I watch lots of channels myself, and I know it takes time, and I know there's a great level of high quality channels out there, so I greatly appreciate you taking the time to drop by Partickhill Station, and I hope to see you again next time here. Thank you very, very much for all your likes, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now, as the trains just run out. See you next time.